Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about my April reading wrap-up and my May TBR. I read 10 books in the month of April, and I'd say it was a pretty good reading month. It was kind of random books, just to be honest. I had some pretty good reads. I had some 4-star reads, some 4.5. I think I had a few 3 stars as well, maybe a 2.5 even in there. So let's get into it. The first book that I read in the month of April was Kingdom of Ash. I finished this book in 5 days. This huge, almost 1,000-page book. I finished it very quickly, I feel like, for how long this book is. I was reading Throne of Glass, like the series, and April 1st, I picked up Kingdom of Ash because I had just finished Tower of Dawn. So this was definitely a 5-star for me. This was probably my favorite book that I've ever read. If you watched my Throne of Glass vlog, you know that I love Throne of Glass. It's my favorite series ever, and just nothing else will ever compare. So I'm not going to say much other than that this series is a 5 stars. The second book after Kingdom of Ash I picked up was The Prisoner's Throne. This is the second book in the Stolen Heir duology by Holly Black. It's in the same world as The Cruel Prince. So it features Oak, who is Jude's little brother. I ended up rating this with 3 stars. It was decently good. I think I was just coming off of the high from reading Throne of Glass that this book just didn't hit for me. Like, I really had to force myself to read this book because I just was not into it at all, especially after reading like such an amazing series as Throne of Glass. I just was not super interested. I feel like nothing really happened until the end of the book, and I just honestly didn't enjoy it that much. So this was a 3 stars. If you read The Stolen Heir, you should read this book just to kind of get the resolution of what happens with this story and the characters, but it just honestly was not my favorite. The next book I read was Bride by Ellie Hazelwood. I was very much in a fantasy mood, and I brought this with me to New Mexico because I had just bought it at Barnes & Noble right before then. This was a decent book. I rated it 3.75. I liked it. It was a little odd to me. It's definitely very Ellie Hazelwood writing. If you like her writing, you will be obsessed with this. It kind of feels like Wattpad, like fan fiction a little bit, but if that's the sort of thing you like, then you will love this book. The spice was a little much. I'm not gonna lie. There's kind of a lot of scenes to skip over, and some of them are kind of like important, like there's main things going on with the plot, so I just like scanned over them, which wasn't my favorite part ever, but this is a 3.75. This was a quick little read. Then I read a few books on my Kindle. Here, this is my old trusty Kindle from literally like 2014 maybe. This is probably 10 years old. I'm not even kidding you. This Kindle is so old and it's still kicking. It is still kicking. And since we were in New Mexico, there was not like a bookstore close to me. There wasn't even like a Target or really a Walmart that had books in it for me to go buy. So I ended up just reading a few books off Kindle Unlimited. I read 2 Frida McFadden books. I read The Inmate and The Teacher. I love Frida McFadden, dude. Frida McFadden is just such a good writer. Her stories are always very intriguing and they hook you. Every single one that I've read, I've been hooked from literally the first page, which I really enjoy, especially when I'm kind of in like a reading slump, which I definitely kind of was in a little bit of a slump after reading The Prisoner's Throne and Bride, just because they didn't hit super hard for me. I ended up rating The Teacher 3.5. It was good. I just didn't love like the whole student-teacher relationship sort of plot that was going on. Definitely read it if you like Frida McFadden, but it just wasn't my favorite plot points. The Inmate, though, I read in 24 hours, which I am obsessed with that book. I rated it a 4.5. I read it in 24 hours, less than 24 hours. I read it so quickly. It was just super fast paced. The ending was pretty crazy. The plot twist was great, and I kind of just liked all the components within the book. I also ended up reading The Serpent and the Wings of Night, the Crowns of Nixia series. I read the first book by Carissa Broadbent. I also rated that a 3.5. I feel like I had a lot of 3.5 ratings this month. It was good. It's kind of like a Hunger Games fantasy sort of situation. I've heard a lot about it. I've heard to read it if you liked Powerless, which I'm actually reading Powerless right now. So hopefully I like Powerless better than I liked that book. Okay, stop biting my books, girl. That's like a $20 book. I was just still in like a fantasy mood, even after reading those mysteries. I've seen a lot of things about the Serpent and the Wings of Night series, and honestly, I think my expectations were just a little bit too high. It didn't hit as quite as hard. I don't know, the plot just felt very rushed. It's about a girl named Araya, and she is a human in a vampire world, and she ends up entering these trials, and the winner of these trials gets like a gift or a wish, and I feel like it was just super fast paced. Like, it was in not a good way. Like, there wasn't enough background information, I feel like. Like, the stakes were high high, but I didn't exactly know why the stakes were high. I don't know. I just didn't really enjoy it that much. I mean, I enjoyed it. I rated it 3.5, but it wasn't my favorite thing in the world. The next few books I read are actually for a video that is coming out next week. The next book that I read in April was Beach Read by Emily Henry. I ended up rating this a 4.75. I know most people rate it a 5 stars. I didn't quite get the 5-star feeling, so this is a 4.75. I enjoyed this book a lot. This is not at all what I was expecting it to be, so I'm not going to talk too much about it because I'll have it in my video next week of all my thoughts and feelings about this book. But 4.75 is my little sneak peek for you. I then read A Court of Thorns and Roses, which I found the OG edition, the original edition, at a little used bookstore out in New Mexico for $20. Still, I've heard these are expensive, so I got it. And I think I rated this a 3.5 as well. It was good. Definitely nothing compared to Throne of Glass. Like, it can't even compare to Throne of Glass, but it's fine. I've heard A Court of Mist and Fury and like the rest of the books are amazing, so I actually have those coming in the mail today, I think, so I'm going to be reading those here in the next couple of months, but 3.5. I also read another Frida McFadden book in the month of April. This was my 9th book, I think, of April. I read Never Lie. I rated that a 4.5. I am obsessed with that book. It was so quick. I think it was under 300 pages, which is actually a very short book, but it was just really good. The plot twist shocked me, like literally shocked me so much. I was not expecting it at all, and I just really liked it. I liked the characters. I loved the ending was crazy. Like, I just loved everything about it. 4.5. And then the last book I read in the month of April is also for the video that's coming out next week, but I read Divine Rivals. This was a 5 stars for me. I'm not going to say too much else because all of my thoughts will be in the video next week, but this was amazing. I really loved it. It was super fast paced, super cute. I really, really love Roman and Iris. I love our main characters, and I really liked everything about this book. These are all the books for my May TBR. I feel like it's kind of ambitious because it is currently May 3rd and I have not finished a book yet, but first up on my TBR is Powerless. I'm so excited to read this. That's all I have to say. I'm very excited to read this book because I've heard a lot about it. I am actually currently reading it. I am 81 pages in, so I'll let you know my thoughts in next week's video and it's once I finish this book. Next up, which is kind of crazy, I am going to read Fourth Wing. I can't believe I haven't read this book yet. The whole internet has gone feral for this book and I have not read it yet. So hopefully I like it, and yeah, we'll see what happens. Next, I have a bunch of Emily Henry books to read. I have all of her books here that are not Beach Read. All the rest of her books are Funny Story, Book Lovers, Happy Place, and then People We Meet on Vacation. So I am going to be on an Emily Henry kick this month, hopefully. And then I also have 2 more books here, The Summer of Broken Rules and 28 Summers. I'm just kind of in a very summery mood. It is so beautiful here. Out in New Mexico, it was so sandy and deserty, and coming back to the Midwest, back to Ohio, it's just green and beautiful outside. So I'm kind of in just a very summery mood. So hopefully I can get to all of these romancy books. Anyways, that's all the books I read in April and everything that's on my May TBR. We'll see if I get to them all. It's only 8 books for May. I'm pretty busy this month, so I don't expect to be reading more than 8 books, but we'll see what happens. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you guys have an amazing day. I'll see you next week for a really exciting video, reading very hyped up books on the internet. It's gonna be a good video. So have a great day. I'll see you later. Bye.
What do you do when the words that you speak in truth fall to the ground? What do you do?